Hey, welcome to Senior Tech Unfiltered. This is Eric from New Vista Community Services, and we got Veda in Sacramento. Say hi, Veda.
Hello.
Hey, as always, before we get started, we should thank our sponsors. Our sponsors, of course, who make a New Vista Community Services possible. They include people like Dignity Health, Peninsula Healthcare District, Sequoia Healthcare District, El Camino Healthcare District, the Forum Charitable Foundation, Los Altos Mountain View Community Fund, Silicon Valley Community Funds. All those people help make us or allow us to provide classes for free to thousands of people across the Bay Area, and of course on the radio waves in our blogs and everywhere else. And we should also thank our partners in our facilities. Veda, want to mention a couple of those?
Sure, I'd like to mention Eschaton, especially here in the Sacramento area, and then in the Bay Area, the V. It's, they've been wonderful partners and not just not just by coming alongside of us and working with us financially, but also, going and helping us with grants. So it's been really good.
Yeah, those and we don't we're a distributed group and we go where our participants are at, and we couldn't do that without the help of our partners in
Not
our
at all.
facilities. So hey, this is second week of October. We just finished the first week of I'm sorry, first second week of August.
August.
We're putting myself ahead of us. We had our week full of classes. We had AI and spam, how they affect each other. We did a class on the DMV wallet and the app, and we did a class on charging sources. It seems like we always get questions. So why don't we talk a little bit about all those classes today, and we'll just kind of walk through and we'll see how our classes went and kind of get a little bit deeper. And I think the meteor one out of this is probably the AI and spam because it's all over the place.
Especially
Um,
in text. I cannot believe how nefarious texting is getting.
oh, it's horrible. You know, and I think AI is impacting not only just our email and spam and phishing, but like you said, text, phone calls, support and chat bots, uh, everything that we communicate with, it's impacting. And once upon a time when we started doing these classes 5 years ago now, it was really easy. We'd say, hey, if there's grammatical errors, it's spam. If it says dear member, it's spam. If it's difficult to read, it's spam. And now they're getting trickier. I mean, AI, you know, professionally in a business, we use AI. A lot of people use AI to write. Well, what do we think our spammers are doing or our cyber criminals are doing? You
It's,
know,
it's correcting all their grammatical mistakes. It's making them sound like they're actually local. It even gets the colloquialisms right.
yes, which is scary. And it's making it more and more difficult for anybody on the average person to just kind of understand that, hey, this is spam or this is a real email.
Right.
Um, and so, the one good thing that they haven't figured out yet though is if you actually go in and check who the email is from, if it's supposed to be
Yeah.
from Netflix or something and it's from at zoom.us,
Right.
it's not from Netflix. You can automatically delete it. But let's dive into this just a little bit because it's pretty easy for these criminals to get a kit that basically allows them to spam people.
Yep.
And so this is why these criminals steal email addresses or they create new email addresses. And this is also why it's really difficult for us to just block a particular email address because it comes from all over many different emails.
And that's why
Um,
law enforcement can't do anything about it either.
yeah. And so, you know, and what we said is AI is able to write better and write these, hey, if your account's been compromised, please go to this link and verify your login credentials, for example. And so it's getting trickier and trickier. But not only are they doing that, but they're also using AI to build these personal profiles on us.
Yes. I mean, we've always known that the advertisers and the search engines and stuff are building like a virtual version of us, right? Because they want to be able to test their models and see how well it reaches a person that's like us. But man, this is like putting this on steroids now. It's getting super accurate and very persistent.
Yeah, so instead of saying dear member, it's going to say, hey, dear Veda, right? Hey
Right.
Veda, right?
Which was, yeah, it was always
Good.
a dead giveaway before, right? Because it didn't
Yeah.
have our personalized information. And boy, now it does.
Yeah, and then if we're active social media users, if you have an active Instagram account or whatever, they'll scour that to get some personal information on us,
Yep.
and then write some very convincing emails. The good news though is that as much as criminals are using AI, these big companies are also using AI to help filter out that AI or that spam as well. And we show like some eye charts in our classes about how it's analyzing sentence structure, and it's analyzing words that it uses to determine written behavioral models to determine what is a fake email, what is not. And they're getting pretty good at it. I mean, they as in those email providers. Some slip by every now and then, but they're getting much better with it.
Yes.
Our thing is if in doubt, delete. But we as users though can do more. So every time, for example, if we use Gmail, every time you say, hey, an email is spam, and I say an email is spam, and maybe it's the same email or maybe it's slightly different, Google goes ahead and figures out that, hey, these are very similar. They've both been reported as spam. And the more that you report as spam, the more they're going to be on the lookout for those types of emails.
Right.
And they say that they filter out 99.9% of spam from our emails. And they they brag that they have like an 87% hit rate on getting emails into your primary inbox or your focused inbox, which is actually pretty good. But it's still 13% that we have to be on the
That's a
lookout for.
lot.
If you get 1,000 emails a day, that's still 130 emails that we have to be on the lookout for.
Well, I tell you, Google Gmail it has the least amount of spam. Okay, well, I should put it it's equally as effective at preventing spam as, let's say, Apple. Uh, but man, whenever I use anything from Yahoo or PacBell or Comcast, boy, those are just spam ridden.
They are, but they're starting, one of the nice things about living in a capitalist society is that competition breeds innovation at
Oh,
times, or
definitely.
makes people catch up. And so, and I still have a Yahoo account, and I have a Comcast account. I still get a lot more email. However, they are starting to implement stricter spam rules. And so we're hoping that we as just users are hoping that they're going to catch up to somebody like Google or Proton Mail or somebody like that. I learned something while I was preparing for that class is that Comcast email is now being managed by Yahoo.
Correct.
And so they're all kind of fitting under the same umbrella. And that's Hotmail, not Hotmail, I'm sorry, AOL, all the AT&T emails, and now Comcast are being managed by that Yahoo Mail service. And so we need to hope that Yahoo does a better job, or is fulfilling their promises of being a lot stricter on their spam filtering. And I think there has been some changes. So hopefully it'll get better. Now, so they're using AI to manage and look through all these emails and determine what is spam. Like I said, we have to go ahead and make sure that we are making sure that we're identifying emails that are spam. Again, it helps the companies understand what is spam and what's not just by us giving input to it. Um, but again, there's some rules that we want people to pay attention to, which is, of course, check who it's from. Never ever authenticate or give login credentials from inside of a button from inside of
Do not
email,
click buttons in emails.
right? Use two-factor authentication. Of course, use strong passwords. Never let anybody into your computer or device. Now, we say that all the time in our classes, but we always try to reiterate that stuff. We just, if in doubt, delete. And if it's not from who you expect it to be from, go ahead and delete it again. I tell the story all the time, which is, okay, if it's a real email and you delete it, what happens?
Yes.
Well, they send you another
Yes.
email. What happens if you delete that email? Well, they send you a letter, right? And the letter in snail
If it's
mail.
legit, they will send you a letter.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And then if it's you ignore the letter, they send the sheriff. And
Right.
so, and so, I mean, it's just an email. They're easy to they're put out. They're cheap. They're inexpensive, and they just put them out by the thousands. And so, again, look for the U.S. Postal Service letter if you're in trouble, and then make sure you address it right away. Now, let's talk about AI's impact on other things like texting.
Oh, that one's getting really scary to me. I must get between 5 and 15 AI written texts a day that have nothing to do with anything that I want. I mean, people are phishing. Some of them are trying to use fear, all those kind of things. It's horrible.
That's actually a lot. It's kind of like changing your email address. Every now and then we should probably change our phone number.
Just
Well,
change
I'm
our
not
phone
telling people to do
numbers.
that, but it might be one of those things eventually that I mean, because honestly, Veda, you and I are of the generation um, that knew what it was before a cell phone, and so we
Oh
probably
yeah.
had the same cell phone number since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah,
Since the
I've
beginning
I've
of
changed mine a few times, but it's been the same for probably 20 years now.
That's what I mean. I mean,
Yeah,
so I mean, my kids, they've had the same number. They'll probably change their number, right? I mean, they'll get a new phone. They'll change their number, and
right.
but we being the old people here, right, in this
We just leave
generation,
the same number.
we just leave the same number. And with anything else, it's one of those things where, uh, you know, the longer some number's been out, the more information that's been out there. But anyways, I mean, so if our numbers out there, I mean, AI knows it's out there, and they
Right,
probably have some idea of who we are. Um, the cell phone companies do have some limitations on and some rules on how much spam we can get through cell phones or texts. I think there's a federal law on restricting some of this stuff, but it still leaks through.
right. You know what
And
I'm hoping
so,
though, Eric, that I think can really play into helping this stuff is the proliferation of passkeys. If we think about what passkeys have behind them, they have, our kind of our permission because they've got two-factor authentication built into them, right? So they
mhm.
have this two-way certificate that you know they've got mine, I've got theirs, so that we can send information to each other. I think if passkeys proliferate about those will then be like, hey, if you need to send somebody something, you better have a passkey that they've worked with you. Just so it goes back and forth. I'm hoping that
That's it.
gets to be the
That's a
case.
totally, that's a super interesting concept to think about is that every piece of communication, and it goes beyond just texting in this context, right? Because
Correct.
you can go to email. It's like
Right.
instead of having just an email address, you have to have the token that gives the handshake that allows you to communicate with that person.
Correct.
And I don't know if it's just you have to have them in your address book or something as simple as that. But yeah, that's a totally interesting concept about how do we get
Hoping it
that
gets
handshake?
there. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more smart people or smarter than us that are working on stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. But I think we've been conditioned, at least our community's been conditioned to be very skeptical of emails.
Yes.
I don't think there's that skeptical of texts
I
or as
agree.
skeptical. And so, I get almost questions every day. Hey, what do I do with this text? I'm like, ignore it. It's a phishing text or a spam text.
I think
And
I have at least, when I'm on site, at least 2 or 3 people a day come up to me and say, Vade, I keep getting these messages that my phone's out of memory,
yeah,
and it's a total scam.
yeah, they're there to again, if you go back to the email stuff, if they're threatening you or if it's something that rushes for urgency, it's probably spam as well. We didn't cover that rule, but that's one of the things. I guess there are some things though with spams that we should spams with texting that we should probably kind of review about being aware of texts. And we talk about urgency. Hey, if you don't respond to this speeding ticket, we're going to revoke your license. You
Right.
know, that's a threat, and that's a lot of, time sensitivity. And so, the DMV will never say that unless, like I said, they'll send the sheriff after you versus sending you a text. In fact, they'll
Right.
never text you. You get all these weird links in your texts,
Well,
and
yeah,
so
and you can't even understand them. It's like, what the heck are those?
yeah, and don't click on them. Just like we
No.
said, don't click on it something from inside an email. Don't click on them. There's requests. They have request personal information. You know, Again, none of this information, this communication is secure. So we shouldn't be doing social security numbers or passwords or anything else or bank numbers or anything else through text.
Yes.
Um, the one that gets, even my son gets it. He goes, Dad, he said I got a parking ticket.
No,
Through text.
no, they
Like,
got him.
I'm
They
like,
hooked him.
I'm like, it's a scam. It's a fake. They're phishing.
You're
They just
right.
want you to respond.
They want you to click,
Um,
whoa, how do I get out of this?
yeah, and and for young adults, it can be scary as well as seniors. But the government won't send you a text unless you've asked them to send you a text,
Correct.
and so that's kind of a big rule. Um, DMV, IRS, all those agencies are not going to be sending, even the post office. They won't send you a
Mhm.
text unless you've signed up for like you've gone to the post office and said, or went online to the post office and had something delivered, like, what is it, the stamps that you buy online,
Right.
and then you send something. They don't say, do you want us to send you a text on the delivery status? And if you don't say yes, they're not going to send you texts.
Nope.
And so they're pretty good about that stuff. And then, of course, anything that is surprising, like, you've won Publishers Clearinghouse Prize,
Right. Send us $500 so we can send it to you.
yeah. I should also say that there's been this last week, I've probably gotten a half a dozen calls or texts about emails being spoofed or being stolen. And
Ooh,
so just, again, if somebody's asking, your friend's asking you for Amazon cards, they're probably not
not
your
legit.
friend.
Right.
They're not your friend, first of all, but yeah, they're not legitimate. Any other things you want to talk about here on AI and spam? It's proliferating, it's everywhere.
Yes. It's just weird how, AI is being used to create it, but finally some people are starting to use AI to detect, which is really nice
Yes.
because the AIs know what data the other AIs are using. I mean, they all use the same training stuff. So it's interesting that they can start detecting each other now.
Well, the scary part is when they stop fighting each other and they start befriending each other and they start teaming
And
up.
take over the world.
It's like, hey, let's play a joke on Veda.
And in one of my classes, one of the early questions was kind of an offshoot, but it was about AI. And they go, "Well, how do you feel about AI?" I'm like, "Well, I don't really feel fearful about AI. Where I am concerned is what we humans let AI decide for us.
Yes.
That's what scares me."
Well, you know what? So what part of that is when we get lazy and we stop
Oh,
stop thinking critically.
yes.
You know, I mean, we can look at anything from social media, um, to pictures on online newspapers, to just images that pop up on searches, and there's a lot of fake photos up there, or
A
fake
lot.
articles, or fake videos.
Have you looked at any of the videos that are like aimed at teenage girls? How
Oh, it's horrible.
fake they are? It's really
It's
bad.
horrible. Well, and there are the teenage girls as well as guys. I'll just say
Yes,
that, right?
teenagers, yep.
Yeah, and it's just like, there's a guy, I think I told you about, Scott Galloway, right? And he talks about, how we're failing the young males, right?
Yes.
And so He said he threw out a stat, and of course I haven't looked, and I got to put a caveat because I haven't done the research on it, but said something like a study of like 50% or 40% of men under 30 have not asked out a woman in person.
What? 40%?
Yeah. And so, I mean,
Whoa.
and so that creates, that creates a problem socially. I mean, we worry about socially for our seniors, and especially when their spouse passes or something like that.
Right.
But think about it from starting that way. I
Mm,
mean, there's a whole thing about, another thing I saw about our whole when we were going through when we go through school, we go through kindergarten, elementary school, and high school. All our friends are people who we interact with every day in school because we're gathered. But what
right.
happens when you finish school or you don't go to college? College just kind of extends that for a few years. But just say you don't go to college, what happens to your locality of friends and socialism, or so being socialized?
Socialized, right.
It all disappears, and then you throw on top of that, hey, swipe right, swipe left if you like somebody, right?
Wow.
Or, with the term sliding into your DMs, and that's how you communicate, or liking Instagram pages, or liking AI photos because you think there's somebody else. It's just, it's a scary world when you start thinking about it in terms of kind of just that whole AI piece and how it's kind of infiltrated our whole lives, but it's up to us to kind of be that critical thought and also not get lazy with it. So I mean, going back to that question, somebody asked you if you're afraid of AI. We can't get lazy,
No. I
and
think it's a
we can't.
great tool, but like any great tool, it's also very dangerous.
Well, it's a great tool for us to iterate and create and do new things by having a vast encyclopedia at our fingertips.
Yes.
And so we have to kind of think that. Now, again, we can't get lazy in certain things. I find myself guilty of, not thinking critically sometimes about writing class descriptions or letting it do things like that. But part of it's in the shape of how we write the prompts and some other things that hopefully keeps us kind of still thinking. But anyways, we kind of deterred away. We kind of went away from the AI and spam, but AI is going to have a bigger effect on us. I mean, GPT, what does they say? Chat GPT 5.0 is coming out.
It's just, I think, just released.
Yeah. And so wasn't it like a year and a half ago? We're at like 2.0.
No, we came out with a year and a half, I think it was four. That's what really changed everything.
Okay. Well, it's getting faster. It's coming out faster and faster,
Oh, yes.
you
But the
know,
versions, even within four, just came out like every
yeah.
2 weeks.
And so it's just, it's hard for us to keep up with all this stuff. But we have to kind of, like I said, keep our brains working and stay sharp and creative with all this stuff. And again, let us use AI, not let AI use us.
Yes. And,
All right.
it could be a very cooperative thing. I'm not trying to defend AI or think it has a personality. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be one-sided. It can be give and take, which would be a great tool when we can do even oppositional analysis with, let's say, an AI. But like you said, we're getting off topic. Sorry.
Well, but I mean that's okay. I mean that's why we kind of do these things. We can kind of go around about a little bit. Um, Again, our key tenet is that the word that you use, it's a tool.
Correct.
A hammer is a tool.
Right.
We can use it to build or destroy.
An automobile is a great tool.
Automobile. You can use it for good or bad, right? You
Yeah.
can move a bunch of people and get them there safely, or you can,
Move a bunch of people and hurt them.
exactly. And so um, there is no personality with some of this stuff. It comes down to us having to use these tools.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about AI, spam, and anything else? We're
No,
gonna have to get Chris on one of these calls and just delve into Chris, who was on our AI panel back in April. We're just gonna have a free for all and talk about AI.
absolutely. I really like his insights.
Yeah. All right. So you had two more classes this last week. You did the
Right.
DMV
Right.
wallet or
So
app.
California has finally, I think it's been the past 2 or 3 months now, where they finally allow us to take our DMV license that was originally in the DMV app, but now we can add it to our digital wallets, which makes it
Yes.
really convenient. And I love the way that California did this in the sense that no longer are we giving them all the information on our license or our ID. Instead, when we go up and double click it and we present it, let's say we're going to buy wine at, Total Wine or something like that. So we're presenting it for ID. By law, all it has to be is our picture ID and our birthday, right? And that's the only two things it's going to send. It does not send your address. It does not send when your license expires. Nothing like this. It just says it's valid. So I really like how those kind of rules are coming about, and we're not just, giving too much information every time because of an older requirement that is now accompanied with a whole bunch of data that had nothing to do with the old requirement.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Google Wallet with my ID in it, and it's just, hold to the reader and stuff like that. And so what your class was about was like, hey, California has allowed you to put your driver's license into your wallet app, and then when you go to proof, when you need proof of who you are, you just tap something.
Yeah, you can just literally, because if they have the readers of, if the vendor or whatever has the reader or government, all you do is double tap the power, and then just like you're going to use your wallet to pay for something, it activates the wallet and you put it up to the reader and it interrogates your ID.
Nice. Who needs your wallet? If you lose your wallet, it's like it's over,
Yeah,
right? The credit cards, driver's license, whatever other cards. If you lose your phone, people have to get into your biometrics or your PIN to get into your phone.
right. It's a lot more secure.
Well, and we also, as soon as you know that, you can always lock it remotely too,
Yep,
right? Or erase it even. What other uses
definitely.
do they have for the ID in the wallet?
Well, could also be used at TSA. So, like, if you
Okay.
want to, so if you have, let's say, a real ID here in California, so your California driver's license or California ID has the little bear, so it's the real ID federally approved, then you can use it to go through TSA at airports and get on an airplane, just like you can do with your physical license. And all of it's being done by the same thing where you put it on near the reader and it's pulling the information from your phone.
Do you know how prolific those readers are at airports? I mean, does every airport have it?
Supposedly, right now they're at almost every major airport, meaning,
So like the
correct.
international airports, like
Yes.
SFO or whatever,
Right.
right?
If you go to SFO or even something like I think San Jose, because they do so many international things, but all the big international ones for sure, Dallas, LA, New York, um, LaGuardia, all that stuff, they will have them.
The next time I jump on a flight, I'll have to try tapping it
Yes. And
and see what happens.
then it was really neat too how some of our travelers were saying that now there's also one for passport control. So you can get the little passport control app from the United States and put it on your phone. And then when you come returning into the United States, it you can just go on the app, activate it, scan through, and you don't have to wait in the long lines. You don't,
Yeah, well, so I think that still has to be, that's for customs
correct.
and also I think for global entry
Yes.
or
Well,
TSA
no, you don't
entry.
need the global entry. This is something different from global entry.
Interesting. Okay. Because I know in customs that when you fly internationally, they come in, they say you can use the passport app and you can go through it, right?
Right.
Um, through the app. So interesting. What was the reaction of the audience at that
So
class?
the live audience, I was in person with, came up with a lot of great questions. I like what they were asking about, can we use it at airports and stuff? But not just that, but then everyone was interjecting on how they have been navigating airports, like with a passport app and things like that. So it was a really good discussion.
Did how many people actually had their driver's license in their wallet already? Did any of them?
Two, two.
Two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody else either didn't know about it or were resistant to it.
And so
And
let's ask why they were resistant to it.
well, actually, the people that are resistant are typically resistant to using a digital wallet because they
Yeah.
just don't get it. They're like, why do I need this? I have a wallet and I have all of these things in it already. The idea is that you don't want to be carrying those things around because if you physically lose them or if they're stolen, they can be used against you, in a way
Yeah.
that it hurts you. Um, but if it's in your phone, it's very difficult to use it in a way that is injurious to you.
Only unless you leave it unlocked. But I don't think you can use your wallet without having a lock on it.
Correct. Activating it, even if the phone's just unlocked, you can't just get in the wallet. It wants to either look at your, biometrics or the password.
Yeah, and so I obviously no think it's pretty safe. Do we
I
have any
really like it.
description? Yeah, do we have any description of why it's safer? Why it's safe?
Uh, as far as how I put this, the encryption and the things that make, let's say, passes, because you can have your, airplane tickets, you can have your event tickets, your basketball game tickets, concert tickets, all of those things can be in your digital wallet. And, two things have to be there to make that possible. Number one is it has to be able to support whatever coding necessary to make sure each ticket is unique. Because you don't want people, just printing the same ticket over and over again and getting into the venue. So it has to be, one ticket, one person. It has to be unique in the world. The second thing is that it has to be difficult for people to steal it. So it's got to be locked down with encryption so that people do get the information from your phone. They still don't get the ticket because they can't unencrypt it.
Yeah, we've been to three concerts in July, and um, you can't print them, you can't screenshot them, you can't share them. They all have that little bar going across, a little scan bar going across
Yep.
it. Um, but also, though, when you put it in your wallet, you don't have to have your Wi-Fi. You don't have to have Wi-Fi or a data connection
Yeah, it's just the
because it's in your
NFC.
wallet,
That's right.
right? And so, it gets stored locally,
Right.
or at least a version of it
It's
gets stored
it's on
locally.
the device. Right. It's a
Yeah.
version and it is encrypted.
Yeah, which is, I don't think people really understand that about the difference between on device and in the cloud.
No, they don't get
I
it.
mean, because when we use a tablet or a phone, we think everything's in the cloud because most of
Right.
the compute process is in the cloud. But I know Apple is moving more towards on device. That's why their AI is a little bit slower
Correct.
because they're trying to do it on device, so it doesn't give so much privacy exposure. Um, Things like your wallet is in your device,
Right. It's
stored locally in the
everything in your
device.
wallet is in your device. It's not stored anywhere else.
I even had a person tell me that they didn't want to do their biometrics because they didn't want it in the cloud. I had to explain to them that your biometrics, your Face ID, and your fingerprint are stored on a little tiny chip inside your phone.
With some
Yeah.
pretty good encryption.
Yeah, and so, we shouldn't be afraid of that just because unless we lose our phone, but then if we lose our phone again, like we said, they can't get into it, hopefully, because there's, a fingerprint or a PIN code or something else. And you can also find my phone or you find my device for Android, lock it and erase it if necessary from remotely, as long as you remember your
Yes.
passwords.
Right. And you can do that from your computer. You can do it from a tablet or another phone.
Yep. Yep. And so, yeah, I think hopefully the future is on device.
Yes.
And especially for privacy. Well, that's good. It sounds like a good class. I think we have the DMV app later in the month where we get into a little more detail
Correct.
about the things that we can do with it, including renewing your registration, doing real ID appointments, stuff like that. But this class was just really about getting that California ID into your
Into
wallet
your
app.
wallet. Yep.
Uh, yeah, which is super useful. And then you did a class on charging sources.
Yeah, and this one I was surprisingly, how I put it, it was well received or people really curious about. Had no idea that people weren't aware of how much charging has changed over the past 5, 6 years. We have the proliferation of the USB-C cable and the
Thank you
USB,
finally for stepping up, Apple.
yes, and the USB 4 protocol, right, that runs over it. And I wish they would give them different names, like C and 4. It's like, give me a break.
Yeah.
That's where people get confused. But the physical cable, or the physical end of it looks like it is called a USB-C cable. And I really like those because you can plug them in any direction. 180
Yep.
degrees, they don't care.
Yep.
So just like
And
the
they're
Apple Lightning,
faster,
they're
and they're
so much
faster,
faster than the Lightning
and
cable.
you can put more power through it, and you can
Yep.
get more data through it. And but anyways,
And,
we
and
can
that's what
geek
was
out. We can geek
really,
out. We can geek out on this stuff all the time,
but
but
just this cable now, and
yes.
I people weren't aware that there's actually chips in these cables.
Yeah.
Because they're really they have to manage a lot of power and they have to manage a lot of speed. And so there's
Yes.
chips inside of these cables that do this, as they talk end to end. So it's people didn't understand. Oh, so that's why they get expensive. Yeah, when a new standard comes out, it's a $20 cable, but a year later it's a $5 cable. It just you know when we get the things at scale, it goes down.
Yeah.
But
The cheap cables aren't always our best deal.
no, no, no. And that's another thing I was saying too is, for me, I try to buy everything from a brand called Anker, Anker, whenever it comes to charging things, because they build good quality stuff. They know the standards inside and out, and their cables and their chargers and everything support the latest standards. I've
Yeah,
never
they're
had
not the
issues with
cheap. They're
them.
not the cheapest, but they seem to last for a good amount of time.
Well, they last, and they've never hurt my computer.
Yeah.
And if you get a cheap one, it can kill your battery faster because it's not charging it evenly. It's not as fast as switching power supply or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of reasons you don't want cheap chargers.
Well,
And
yeah. I gave you a One Plus phone,
yes,
right? And so those things fast charge at 80 watts.
right, but you have to have their charger
You have to have a good cable.
and a good cable. But you know
Yes.
what? A USB 4 cable today can go up to 240 watts and does the full negotiation of PD or power delivery, and it works wonderfully.
Yeah, cables are a big deal. So are the charging bricks. The
Yes.
charging bricks are, they come rated. Now let's back up a little bit because we kind of jump right into the hardware, right? We have a tendency to do that. So let's talk about before we get into the charging brick. Let's go through the whole process, right? Because we get a lot of questions on charging, and it's changed even over the last couple of years. It's changed.
Correct. Yep.
And the software in the phones are getting smarter where they're kind of optimized charging. They'll like iPhone, the new iPhone, it'll kind of understand when you normally get up and start using your phone. And so they'll
Right.
like
It actually
charge
monitor or, looks at
yeah.
your schedule and then adapts to it.
Yeah, and so they'll like charge it till like 80%. And if you wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, they'll like charge at 8 o'clock till 7 a.m. And then that last hour they'll bring it up to 100%.
Right.
So that's why it was sometimes if you wake up earlier, like gotta take the kids to the airport or something, and you gotta wake up really
Right.
early, it's not
Yeah.
charged.
It's not
It's
fully
like,
charged. It's like what
no.
happened.
But they do that because they understand more and more about our batteries
Correct.
and the life of the battery, and so it's not great to keep our batteries at 100%.
No. And
You
the
know,
best
you
explanation I ever heard for that is like, think of a battery as like, this this plate that has all these dents in it. It's got to every dent has to be filled with a marble, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you first pour marbles onto the plate, they can kind of scatter everywhere and there's always an open one, right? But as it gets fuller and fuller, even though you have enough marbles to fill all the little holes or dents, it's got to go find them, and
Yeah.
now they're competing for them, and that translates to heat and starts killing batteries. So,
Yeah, heat
that
is
last
the
10% is horrible.
yeah, like they're starting to. learn that with electric cars too, because I mean the batteries in electric cars are essentially the same batteries in our everything else.
Oh, yes, exactly. They're just
Yeah,
big.
there's just like, there's a lot more cells, and so that whole little about regenerative braking and how a little bit of charge every now, like the repetitive little charges is healthier than a big long charge.
Correct.
And so we have to kind of treat our devices in the same way. Lots of little charges, not to 100%, is better for the longevity of our battery than it is for charging it once a day at 100%
Yep.
or
And it
overnight at 100%.
and the chargers that we're using, either built into our cars or the anchor charger bricks, as soon as they talk to a phone that understands PD and USB 4, it just all happens. It's really interesting. We don't really
So
have to worry about it.
so let's be definitive about this. Is it, I want to ask questions. I'm going to interview you, all right? And so
Okay.
uh is it a bad thing to charge a battery to 100%?
I think if you do it all the time, yes. However, how you get to 100% also matters. I mean, if you go always fast charging, I'm going to go from, let's say, 20% to 100% in 15 to 30 minutes. The phone gets hot, and
Yeah,
heat is the killer of batteries. I mean, you're going to
yeah.
reduce their life, and you're going to reduce how much their capacity is, all that kind of stuff. So, and if it gets too bad, they'll actually catch on fire. It's not good. And we've had some of the cheap lithium ion controllers and stuff way back in, that's what, 5, 6 years ago, when we had a whole bunch of them happen in the air, in cars,
Right,
everything.
right.
Well,
Now,
that's kind
should
of
we
settled
drain our
out.
batteries to 10% or less?
So that on the other side of it, if you go too far, then they kind of lose their, how I put it, their form. They get a little, it's like they went from being a solid to being a liquid for a little bit. It's not exactly how it happens, but going all the way to zero is not good either. I never like to get below
For the audience,
10%.
if they don't know, Veda was a physicist, so
And yeah, electrolytes, we don't need to go on and all that stuff. But as far as the battery, we don't want to go below 10%, and we don't want to go above 80% typically.
well, is
Yeah, I think
80% the number, or is it 85, or is
no,
it
80%
90?
is a good one. I think a good conservative number because you're not trying to push into those last, available holes, to get the charges in there. Uh, That's where all the heat comes from. And if you just get to 80%, you're fine. And the battery's going to be more sensitive to the filling side than the emptying side. Okay, so there's more risk on the filling side because of heat.
Do we think it if we never charge 100%, we get more life out of our battery?
We should, yes. But
Yeah.
again, if we're using our phones in our cars and they're like in an area where there's direct sunlight, that heat's going to heat up the phone and it's going to reduce the battery life. So there's a whole bunch of things that that factor into this beyond just the charging. But the biggest thing is managing heat.
So let's sorry, let's talk about that a little bit more because a lot of the nicer phones have wireless charging. And
Yes.
whenever we do wireless charging, there's heat.
I found yes and no. I mean,
Mm.
on a good charger, I found there's a little bit of
Well,
heat, but it's not
every car,
necessarily in the car.
every wireless charger I put my phone in a car heats up
Yeah,
the phone
right. That makes sense.
because
And
I don't know
here's
what
the
it is.
and here's the hard thing too is when we're in a car, they typically are not aligned by magnets or anything like that. One of the things I've really liked on the Apple side of the products is they have something called is it MagSafe? Can't it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
MagSafe, where it's this basically a radial of magnets, and you can put it. It's in the phone, so it's magnetic, and now it can go to a charger. If you get a case, it'll also have that same pattern, and so they stack up on each other. So the magnets, keep building, and it always can be stuck on something that's compatible. What I love about that is not only does it hold it in place, but it aligns it to the charger. So now your inductor, that's what's doing the transmission of energy, right? It's perfectly aligned. So it's not working so hard and generating more heat because of misalignment. So I think I hope Apple will reduce the licensing on that thing and people will be using
Well,
it across the board.
They have MagSafe on Android phones too.
Now, but it aligns magnetically.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And you
Okay.
can also get a case that helps them line it up as well.
Yes. And you can
You,
buy
again,
anybody
that
can
goes
buy a
back.
MagSafe case.
Right,
But
that goes back to not getting the cheapest case
correct.
or the cheapest thing all the time, right? Because there are actual reasons for it. Okay, so we got it 80%, little charges, extend the battery life. Heat is the bad. Now let's talk about those cables and blocks again, because I think this is the confusing part. People have long memories, and originally we would get those little square charging blocks from Apple, and they were like 5 watts,
Right.
right? And now, Apple allows you to go to 30 watts pretty safely. Like I said, OnePlus, my phone, the European version goes to 100 watts
Right.
charging. Um, Pros and cons, and you can buy the Anchor. Like I'm looking at an Anchor, multi block here. That's a fast charging block. Um, Pros and cons of those.
So
I
I
mean,
again, why I really like to have the Anchor product is I can go out and I can get a 200 or 240 watt block that I'm going to charge my devices with, right? And let's say it's my what do you call it? My iPhone, which has a maximum of 18 watts coming in, to charge it. That's its fast mode. So what happens though is the phone, because it's on the USB standard over USB-C, talking with the PD standard across the USB, is they negotiate. So it's going to talk to my 240 watt charger and say, hey, I need 18 watts. The charger's only going to send 18 watts. So it's not going to it's not a fire risk. It's not like we're throwing, 200, 240 watts at a small 18 watt thing, which then acts like a fuse and blows. Uh, we're not doing that. We're sending exactly what it needs, and they negotiate. One asks for it, one delivers it. It's pretty nice.
and so and maybe you can prove me wrong here, but I don't believe that's a linear scale in terms of how fast it charges. So, in other words, if I use 6 watts, it's a constant increase over 5 watts, it
Yeah,
seems
it's
right.
not
You know what I'm saying?
it's not
It's
linear as
it's
far as speed. It is
right,
kind of linear though as far as its capacity, right? So
right. But what I'm saying is the difference in charging between an 18 watt and a 5 watt is not just okay. It's fast. It's pretty fast,
right,
right? Relatively speaking, and it's not like an incremental increase by watt in
right.
speed. And so, like I said, I can hook up my new iPad to a fast charger, and it charges pretty quickly.
It does,
Right.
and it
So,
doesn't get too hot or anything.
right. And like I said, I can use my Android, my OnePlus, and charge it from 0 to 80% in pretty much 15 minutes,
Right.
which is incredibly fast.
Yep.
But it's probably not super healthy for my battery. So
No, you don't want to do it all the time.
no, but it's okay every now and then. They are durable equipment. All right. Anything else you want to talk about charging? Because we
So
get this question all the time.
the other thing I want to talk about was with the wireless charging, so that
Okay.
we could get the little stands. And there were questions about, well, can you get these that are portable? And yeah, there's some that fold up, so they're very portable to take with you. There are some stands like the one I use next to my bed. I just have it so I stick my phone on it and it dims itself into a very dim red, so it doesn't bother me. And yet
Right.
it's a clock, so it's really nice the way it works. And so then I can put my rechargeable headphones on there, and I can put my rechargeable watch all in the same stand, so it works out well.
Well,
And
we're more and more reliant on these batteries.
oh, absolutely. And
Everything from headphones to, you know, speakers to phones. Everything seems to have a battery in it these days.
yes, because all the electrical stuff that's portable, if it's mobile, it's battery, right?
Well, the cell phone has made us all more mobile.
Right.
And so, no, it's we have to take care of it. Otherwise, honestly, that's what I tell people to buy a new phone is when they might have an older phone. They might have like a XR or even an 8, and if their
Right.
phone the battery's fine, it's like, yeah, yeah, you could, but you don't really need to if you're not using it, right? As long as the
Right.
battery lasts you through the day. And so that's why it's really important to take care of these batteries. And like I said, it's and this goes for our laptops and it goes for everything else that we do, right? And so um, we just got to pay attention to it. Like laptops, I think we're notorious for leaving them plugged in all the time.
Right.
And so that's
But
another thing that.
but if we have really good software that manages that, it works great. And the more expensive computers tend to do that really well.
Well, I mean, it still goes 100% unless you set it to be less than 800%.
Correct.
And so that's the other part of it is that we have to take action to set these things up, right? To set up our battery management. It's not just take it out of the box all the time and let it roll. So,
Agreed.
anyways, all right. So good week of classes. A little bit across the board. We got a little bit of security, we got a little bit of convenience, and we got a little bit of practicality here. Um,
Right.
so we hit them all, and then I think this week we're doing things like iPad basics of Truesdale. What else we got? We got emergency assist, one of our favorite
Right. Well,
applications.
I love that service. It's Alexa's emergency assist, so you can get
Yep.
911 just by saying, "Alexa, I need help." It's just really a good service.
Yeah.
And
Google account
it'll work
settings.
with
We got.
multiple people. So
Yep.
yeah, it's really nice.
All right, we got Google account settings. So we got a whole bunch of things that are happening here over the
Yeah.
next week and the next month, and we'll try to get on the call here again in a week or so and kind of review those classes. Maybe we'll come up with a special class or a special topic, talk about some things that are happening. Um, but yeah, I mean, we do these podcasts so people have a different way of accessing us and just kind of hearing us digress into strange physics type conversations, and it gives a different kind of engagement. Anything else you want to say for tonight?
That's great. Thank you.
All right. So again, we want to thank our sponsors, Dignity Health, Peninsula Healthcare District, um, Sequoia Healthcare District, El Camino Healthcare District, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, um, El Camino, I think I said El Camino Healthcare
Yes,
District,
you did.
Los Altos Mountain View Community Fund, the Rotary Club, Forum Charitable Fund, Health Trust, Touchpoint, and along with our partners like Escaton and the City of Milpitas, City of Redwood City, Truesdale, the V, City of Burlingame, City of Mountain View, Indian Community Center, and everybody that enables us and allows us to go out and talk to everybody and talk about technology. Um, Follow us on our podcasts on Spotify podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts. But with that being said, I think it's a good night. All right. Beta, thanks again for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you about technology.
Too.
Um, we will see everybody at a class near us. All right.
Good
Have
night,
a good
all.
night.